Welcome back to episode 6 of my campaign playthrough for Stellar Horizons. Today we are starting the year 2080. We've already gone through the economics phase at the end of the last video, so we will get going here momentarily. Just to kind of give an overview of what we're looking at right now. Japan's got an orbiter here at Venus, but otherwise there's really not a whole lot going on. Mercury, Venus, Earth. Mars has a few bases. There is an asteroid there now, and all three factions have crewed vehicles coming in to Mars. North America has got their base out at Hygeia Palace in the main belt, and they are able to go out to Jupiter now with their crewed vehicles, so they're planning on exploring out there. Japan's goal, I think, for this decade is to get their base built at the main belt. Somewhere out there. They do have a CV range of 3 now, so they will be heading out there. I think that's their goal. And then for South America, I feel like I've been misplaying them almost the whole game. I think I probably went too aggressively into base building and crewed vehicles early on. I'm going to refocus them a little bit this decade. I'll still work with their crewed vehicles that they have, but I think they're going to build a lot of robotic explorers. I think they'd like to catch up on tech. They've actually done an okay job catching up just because of the nice mechanic of getting a discount to buy tech that others already have. But I think we're going to see more robotic explorers out of them, and even a few out of North America this time. South America would really like to complete their mission. That's a pretty big goal for them. The mission that they have is at Triton. North America is out at Neptune. And then the other two are back in the inner planet area. The common mission is for a crewed vehicle to explore at the comet, and looking around for Japan's right now. Oh, my mistake. Japan's is actually out here too. It's at Eris and Dysnomia. So for the build phase, South America is going to build 2 launch vehicles. They don't have any right now. They're going to build an LV-1 and a telescope, and an LV-4, a rover, and a probe to go try their mission in Triton. That's going to cost them $15 billion. Japan is only rebuilding their telescope at the moment for 3. They do have an LV-1 and an LV-4 on Earth. And North America is building an orbiter and a probe to go do their mission out at Neptune as well. So sending a few things out to Neptune. And then that is all for them at the moment. All right, mandatory moves have been completed. The initiative order this decade is Japan, South America, North America. So we will begin with North America. They're going to launch their orbiter they do have an LV-4, so that is heading out to Neptune. They get a 35 that is recoverable, and they have a probe with that orbiter. So Neptune being 11 years away, and their modifier right now is 0.7. That should take 8 years to get out there, but minus 3 for the LV-4. So that will be 5 years. I'll just go ahead and put that on Neptune into the 5 box. That's the only launching for North America. They do have their CVs that have arrived at Mars and the main belt, so I'll take a look at those. Well, I know the one here at Mars is going to head to the base, and it's going to resupply there. And this one here is going to head to their base at Hygeia Palace. Right now, that base only has a small supply station, so it can only resupply CV2s. The one that just arrived is a CV2. But their goal is going to be to build that up pretty big. I think that's going to be their primary large base, kind of out in the middle of the board. And from there, they'll launch other missions off to the outer planets. So I think, looking around here, that is all for the movement for North America. Moving on to South America, they are going to launch their telescope on the LV-1 that they bought. 83, they recover that telescope, or the rocket, the LV I should say, and they've launched their telescope. They are also going to launch their, they have a rover with a probe on an LV-4 going to Neptune as well. They do get that, and that is recovered as well. That's good, getting two LVs recovered for South America. That's they're off to a good start here already this decade, and that's going to be 5 years for them as well. Same as North America, they've got the same heliocentric modifier. Looking around at other movement, the CV that's currently here at Mars at their base is going to sit there. There's nothing it can really do at the moment. That base only has 1 supply right now. This vehicle is going to come in and deposit its fuel and ore. And next turn, I'll be able to flip one of those over, and then I'll probably use their LV4 to ship a bunch of supplies out there so that those crewed vehicles can... I think they want to mine resources, and they would eventually like to get a base out on the main belt. That is their goal. And now on to Japan. They're going to launch their telescope on their existing LV1. Or actually, they don't even have to launch it, do they? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. They do have space elevators, so I think they can just put this up into orbit. But either way, that was a success, so they'll keep the rocket. Other movement for them, that CV-4 they have at Mars is going to sit there. It's going to mine that asteroid. And I believe that is all of the movement for Japan. So moving on now to exploration, their orbiter at Venus is going to be a 7 plus a 4, so they need an 11. Get an 8 and a 72, so 1 physics, which is a 2. Next up, they've got their telescope. I think they'll keep targeting Pluto out here. They've done that in the past. It's physics and a 7, so 3.5 goes to 4. 5, 6 for the telescope, plus 4 more for their bonus, and that is 10. Rolling for malfunction, 39, no malfunction. Their rate right now is 13, and they get a 1. The orbiter at Mars will target the comet, needing a 7, 3, and a 5, so that is a malfunction, but they do get another physics for that. And that physics is a 1. And then their engineering is, if I can pull one out here, is a 3. And I will remove that orbiter from the board. All right, moving on, that CV-4 can't do anything exploration-wise there. The orbiter at Saturn will go ahead and target Saturn itself, so it will need an 11. Just the 1, no malfunction. And they get a 5. That is a depletion at Saturn. Depleted down to 3. We have a spectrometer, so I will pull 2 world cards here. And neither of them are going to apply. We've got water ice and cratered surface. So for the time being, Saturn will continue with no world card. And we've got a 2% life check. 3, very close, but no. And a politics marker for the depletion. And lastly, the rover at Titan needing a 14. Did get the 14. 21 is not a malfunction, so they do get 2 biology. The first one is a, wow, first one's a 5. Pull another 5 here. And then the second one is a 3. All right, so I will go over there and deplete Titan. The world card here is S-class asteroid, minimal gravity. That does not apply. Titan is icy, rocky, volcanic. There's, again, a lot that applies there, but that is not one of them. All right, that is it for Japan. Just as a reminder, they do have their flyby heading out to Alpha Centauri. In 2082, after mandatory movement, it will be in the 6 box, and we'll probably start taking a look at that in 2 more years here. All right, so with South America, they're going to target with their telescope. I think they're going to go for Haumea Makemake, which is a 7. So they will need an 8. They do get that, but a 24 is a malfunction. They have a 24, so just barely. But that is a 1 for the physics. And then for the engineering is a 2. And at least for the moment, that is all that South America has. Moving on to North America. And North America also doesn't have a lot right now, but I think they'll get things out as we go here. But they do have their crewed vehicle out at Ganymede. And so it is going to need a 13, 5 plus 5, and then they have a bonus of 3 right now. And it does have a lab. So it does get the extra. Their recall rate right now is 30, so no recall. Ganymede is physics, so they will pull 2. The first one is a 1, and the second one is a 2. So just barely, but because that's a crewed vehicle, that is a depletion. And before I go any further with that, I just remembered that on Titan, that depletion for Japan, I did not roll for life. So life on Titan is 9%. Let's roll for that. 41, no. And then they also get a politics marker. The world card for Ganymede. It's an icy rocky moon, and we pull escarpments. So it's not as good in terms of resources, but it is better for exploration. Let me think about that. Yeah, I think North America is going to change that out. They don't really necessarily need an ore base out here in Jupiter, and that +3 to crude bonus is really going to help them deplete Ganymede as quick as possible. So I think they're going to go for that. The life check out there is 5%, so we will roll for that. No life, and they do get a politics marker. And that is all for exploration for North America. Moving on to production, the Japanese CV at the Mars flyby is going to attempt to harvest that asteroid. So we'll roll for that. 33, their recall rate is 25, so that's okay. A 1 is not a great roll here for the resources, but looking at the chart here, 1 will get them 3 supply. So I will give that to the ship, and I think they get politics and or victory marker. Let me check on that. Yes, they do get a victory marker, so I will give that to Japan here. And I think that's all the production for all of the factions. Moving on to trading with bases, I think North America is going to go ahead and do that with their base out at Ceres. Actually, it's their own base, and they can deny other people's other factions' trade requests. So they are going to do that, but they're not going to do it right now. I think they want the ore. They currently have 8. They have 8 ore there right now, and they're going to need that for base construction. They are going to go over to the, I think it's an Asian base over there next to them, and they're going to go buy ore there. So at the moment, no trades, at least at that base. Let me check and see what they have here at Mars. It's actually been a few days since I put these trade markers out here. They have a sell supply token here. They have 7 supplies there. So I think they are going to go ahead and do that. That base has 3 settlements, meaning they can sell up to 4 resources. So they will do that for 8 billion, and they will remove the trade marker. So I will go take care of that. And then for building and expanding bases, nobody's doing anything this turn. Obviously, North America does want to build out their Hygeia Palace base with at least a small spaceport and probably a large spaceport eventually. They only have 2 fuel there right now. They need one of them to resupply that crewed vehicle. So I think next turn we're going to see them launch an LV-4 out to their base there with probably nothing but fuel. So I think that is the goal. They've got quite a bit of money right now. Just looking quickly at it, they have a little over $50 billion right now. So they've got quite a bit of money to do that. So with that, that is the end of expanding bases, and that is the end of the turn. Moving on now to 2081, I will look at the build phase here. Before moving on to the next year, I forgot that the North Americans do have their rover here at Chariklo. So it needs an 8. It's a 3 and a 31. Their malfunction rate is 24, so that is fine. And that is physics, and that is a 2. All right, on to the build phase. South America is rebuilding their telescope and also buying some resources to send out to Mars. Also at Mars, they're going to spend 1 fuel and 1 supply to flip over one of their crewed vehicles. Japan is buying an orbiter and a probe, and they're going to send that, I think, to Uranus. There's going to get exploration somewhere, so they'll send it out there. And then North America is buying 4 fuel, sending that out to the main belt, and then buying another LV-4 and an orbiter. The LV-4 isn't necessarily necessary for this orbiter. It's going to go to the Sun exploration box. Maybe. I'll think about that. I think it's going to go there, though if I have an LV-4, maybe it'll go out to like the Kuiper Belt. But it just wants research, so that is the plan. And then they are going to be resupplying their CV2 at the main belt with their resources there. And then that is it for now. And actually, scratch that. Instead of the orbiter for North America, they're going to spend a few more. They're going to spend 3 more dollars and buy a rover instead. Mandatory moves have been completed. I flipped over the crewed vehicles that were getting resupplied. Oh, and also, this is getting resupplied at Mars. I forgot about that. So I will go pay the resources for that as well. And then we'll move on to movement for North America. All right, North America is going to send that 4 fuel that they bought out to the main belt, or their base out there. So that is good and instantaneous, and they get to keep their LV-4. With the other LV-4 that they just bought, they're going to send their rover out to the Kuiper Belt. All right, that's good. They get to keep that LV-4 as well. And it will go out to the 5 box, I believe. Yeah, so it's 12 years away to the Kuiper Belt. So 10 on a times 7 goes to 7, and then 2 on a times 7 goes to 1. So that's 8 total years, but minus 3 for the rocket size. So it's going to go to the 5 box at the Kuiper Belt. Other movement here for North America. Let me take a look. I know that CV2 at the main belt is going to head back to Jupiter. It's a distance of 2, but with their modifier that turns into a 1. And after looking at it, I'm actually going to keep that CV2, the Discovery, here at the main belt for now and try to get that final depletion on the main belt. It does have a +2 crewed exploration bonus on the world card, so we'll try for that. And then I move the CV4, the Andromeda, over to the main belt, and it's going to go mine resources on Ceres, is the plan there. And that is all of the movement for North America. So moving on now to South America, they're going to launch their supplies that they bought. I say supplies again, but resources that are currently on Earth, going to launch that to Mars on their LV-4, so they can launch 5 resources. At a 95, they get to keep their rocket, and I will transfer all of that over to Mars here. They also have their telescope we're going to launch into orbit. That is a success, so 2 more rockets kept for them. That's going to help buy them a few more things throughout the turn, or throughout the decade, I should say. They did flip over their CV3 at Mars, and I think that's going to head over to the Comet and try to get that mission. And I think that is everything for South America. Moving on to Japan, they're going to launch their orbiter and probe. They have an LV-4 that they're going to use for that. That is a success. They keep their LV-4, and the orbiter and probe are going to head out to Uranus. Their modifier is 0.6. Uranus is 9 away, so that goes to a 5. And then they use an LV-4, so that will actually just go to 2 years. So we'll subtract 3 off of that. So that will be there in no time. Other movement for Japan. I think that they are going to move to Mars with their CV-4 here and mine for some more resources here. They would like to go build a base at the main belt, so they're going to go and get those supplies there. And that is all for movement for them. On to exploration. So for Japan, actually before I do that, I'm going to send, instead of sending the orbiter out to Uranus, I'm going to send it to the scattered disk, which is 15 years away. I'll show it out here. So the scattered disk out there, I'm going to send it 15 away, so at a 0.6 that is 9 years, but it's going to be 6 years for the LV-4 that I used. And they're going to go try to do their mission that they have on Eris. The orbiter at Venus needing an 11. Just the 1, so we'll pull physics here. 26 is no problem, and they get a 5. Lots of depletions already here for Japan. Venus has been depleted down to 3. We'll pull a world card. M-class asteroid, that is not going to apply to Venus. There's a life check of 1%. 10, nope, and a politics marker. They'll continue to target Pluto with their telescope. That's going to be a 10, so automatic. That bounced out, but it is a 30. So 32, that is a success, and they will pull another physics for that, which is just a 1. I think the orbiter at Saturn will continue to target Saturn. It needs a 10, so it is automatic. Malfunction roll is a 15. Again, theirs is 13, so close, but still okay. And they get a 2 there. And then they will try for Titan, obviously, with the rover. So that will need a 13. They do get a 2, so that's 2 biology markers there. Those two are a 3 and a 2. So that is another depletion. Depleted that down to a 3. The world card here is C-class asteroid. That will not apply. And a life check of 9%. 75, nope. And one more politics marker. That is all for Japan now. They will have their flyby at Alpha Centauri next year. I think that will start then. So for South America, moving on to them, they have their telescope at Earth, and they will target Haumea Makemake again, which is out here at the Kuiper Belt, needing a 7, or the exploration is a 7. Goes to 3.5 up to 4, plus the 1, so they need a 5. Get a 6 and an 8. So nope, no exploration. They do get a malfunction, and that is a 1. The crewed vehicle at the Comet needs an 8. It's 4 for the crewed vehicle plus 2 for the Comet. Their modifier is 2. They do have a lab, so they get to roll 2 dice. They do not get it. They do get a recall. This is really incredible how bad of luck that ended up being. And their marker they get, just to add insult to that, is a 1. That's as bad as it possibly could have been for them. For the Comet, they will have to go back and resupply, and it's going to take them a little while to get back there to the Comet. That is it right now for South America. All right, North America, they're CV2 at the main belt. They need a 5, plus a 1 is 6, plus a 2 is 8, plus 3 more for their bonus is an 11. They do have a lab there. They only get 1, but no malfunction, or no recall, rather. So they do get an engineering marker, and it is a 1. Next up is the CV out at Ganymede, they do have a new world card there. That world card is a plus 3. So 5 plus the 4 plus the 3 is 12. And then plus 3 more is 15 with their bonus. 2 7s and a 70, so just 1, but no malfunction. Ganymede is physics. And they get a 2. And then lastly, their rover here at Chariklo, needing an 8. Got a 1 and a 68. That is a success. 1 more physics for them. It's a 1. I feel like I say this every decade, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record here, but I'm looking at North and South America combined have pulled 10 chits, and all of them are 1s and 2s. And I'm looking at Japan, who has pulled 12 chits. I'm looking at 3 5s and 3 3s. I guess I can move this camera for dramatic effect. So here's South America, here's Japan, and here's North America. And it's not surprising to me that Japan has more chits, like they've got a lot more robotic explorers out there, but just they always seem to get the 5s and 3s. It's really, it's fascinating that we're on episode 6 and it's been like this every decade. All right, the only resource production is the Japanese CV4 on Mars, needing an 8 for supplies out there. They get a 3 and a 90, so they will collect 2 supplies from that. And that is all of the supply collection. Moving on to base building, no building, but we are expanding. So North America is going to spend 2 fuel and 2 ore to flip over their small supply station here to a large supply station. And now CV3s can be supplied out there, and I'm pretty sure that's a CV3 that's sitting on top of it right now. And that is the end of 2081. Moving on to 2082, looking at builds. All right, so South America is going to rebuild their telescope and build an orbiter for 10 billion. Nope, that sounded really wrong. Just 5 billion. And they're also spending a supply and a fuel to flip over the CV3 that's at Mars right now. Japan's not buying anything this turn. And then North America is going to buy an LV-1 and a telescope. They're going to buy their telescope. All that's for 5. And then 4 more fuel to send out to Hygeia Palace for 4 billion. And they also will spend a fuel and a supply at Hygeia Palace to flip over the other crewed vehicle they've got there. All mandatory movement has been completed. On to other movement, launching the North American telescope on their LV-1 they just bought. That is a success and a recovery of the launch vehicle. And then they're going to launch their 4 fuel out to Hygeia Palace. That is a success, but not a recovery, so they have lost an LV-4. So for North America, I moved the CV-4 Andromeda over here to Ceres. They're going to mine for supplies, and then the CV-3 that flipped over on Hygeia Palace moved over to the Asian base, and they're going to do the trade with them this turn. That is all of the movement for North America. On to South America. Let's see here. They're going to move their reserved crew vehicle back to their Mars base, and need to figure out where they're going to move the other crewed vehicle. All right, so I sent it out to the one box out there at the main belt. I think they're going to go mine supplies on Ceres as well. They'd like to get a base up. We'll see if it happens, but that is a goal. They are launching their telescope on an LV-1. That is a success, but a failure to recover the launch vehicle. So their telescope will go back up, and now we have 3 telescopes up here. And then they also have the orbiter that they bought. I think they're going to send it to Saturn. So they do have an LV-4 that they'll use for that. That is good, and they recover the LV-4. It is 7 years away. They are at 0.7. That is going to be 5 years, but then minus 3 for the LV-4, so they're just at the 2 box out here. And that is all of the movement for South America. Japan doesn't have anything to launch. They're going to keep their CV-4 where it's at, so I don't think they have any movement either. Moving to exploration, the orbiter at Venus needs a 10, so automatic, rolling for malfunction. 38, no malfunction, and let's see, they get a 2. Alright, the telescope will continue to point at Pluto, and that should need a 10 still. Yep, that needs a 10. So just rolling for malfunction, which there is not, so they get another physics chit. This time it is another 2. Alright, moving outward, nothing at Mars, nothing at the main belt for Japan. Next thing is the orbiter at Saturn. That's going to target Saturn, and they need a 10 there as well, so that's another automatic one, where we are just rolling for malfunction. 50, no malfunction, and they get a 1. The rover on Titan needs a 12. They do not get the 12, but no malfunction. So just 1 chit, and that chit is a 2. Alright, moving out to Alpha Centauri. They are in the 6 box now, so they're 6 years away. The value is 9 on the exploration, so that turns out to be a 3. Plus 3 for the flyby, plus 4 for their bonus, that is another 10, so they will roll for malfunction. That is a malfunction. That's a malfunction of a 3. So they got all the way out there just for 1 exploration. That is unfortunate, but we will roll a d10 to see what type of exploration it is. Okay, that jumped out of the box, but it is an 8. That is biology. So we will do a biology chit, which is a 3. They did deplete Alpha Centauri, which I'd have to look at the points. I don't think that's required to get the Alpha Centauri exploration points at the end of the game, but regardless, they did get that. We'll go ahead and pull engineering for their malfunction. That is another 3. Because that was biology, and I'll put an 8 on top of Alpha Centauri there in a moment. They have a 10% check for life. 67, no life. They do get a politics marker for the depletion. And then I need to remove the flyby and put an 8 out there. So that was anticlimactic. they go all the way out there and only get to use it once. But at least they got a depletion out of it, so not all is lost there. Let's see, I think South America is going to target Eris and Dysnomia out here. It is a value of 9. It's probably what they should have been targeting before. So 4.5 rounds to 5, plus the 1 for their telescope. They need a 6. They do get that. No malfunction. They do get a physics pull for that. And that is a 3. They have depleted Eris and Dysnomia. That telescope does have a spectrometer, so they will get to pull 2 cards. And that is an icy dwarf planet. So we get... one of them will apply here. They pulled hydrogen and frozen methane. So go ahead and add, excuse me, we'll add frozen methane to Eris and Dysnomia. Need to do a search for life at 5%. No. And a politics marker. That's all for them. The ships we sent out for North and South America to Neptune are now 3 years away, so they'll be there pretty soon. But moving on to North America, their telescope will also target Eris and Dysnomia. They will need a 6, 8 halved is 4, plus the 2. Wow, I'm doing a very poor job of getting these in the box. It is a 70, so 73, that's fine. 2 is good also, so they pull a 3. They have also depleted that. The North American telescope does not have a spectrometer, so we'll just pull 1 card. That card is S-Class Asteroid. Requires a world with minimal gravity. Eris has low gravity, so that does not apply. Do our life check of 5%. 5%. They do get it. We'll go through that procedure here. What a dramatic dice roll that was. So I'm adding Signs of Life out to Eris. Alright, so I've given North America a victory point, 2 politics markers, 1 for the life and 1 for the depletion, and then they get 2 biology markers, which they get a 3 and a 1. So quite successful there. That telescope has already paid off. Moving on to the CV2 at the main belt. Let's see, we're at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We do have a lab there. Just the 1, and that is a recall. So here's the engineering for the exploration. It is a 5. They have gotten their final depletion there on the main belt. So this is turning out to be a pretty good turn so far already for them. And they will draw the biology for the recall, which is a 2. For the world card, they are rocky asteroids. So let's see what we pull, if it's any better than what we already have. I got mixed ice, so that will not apply. That's for icy. So that ridged terrain that's there, that's what we're going to keep for the rest of the game. Life check there is 3%. No life, and another politics marker. Moving on over to the crewed vehicle at Ganymede, needing a 5 plus 4 for 9, plus 3 to 12, plus another 3 to 15. They do get the 15, no recall, so 2 physics checks, and those 2 are a 2 and a 2, so those add up to 4, and that will be another depletion. Depleted down to a 3. It's an icy rocky moon. And I really feel like I'm shuffling these up, but I got mixed ice here. That does apply. It gives a nice bonus to spectrometer, but we don't have a spectrometer there. It does have a lot more supply, and Ganymede is not a bad place for supply, but it looks like Europa's already got a pretty good place there for supply. I think they want to keep that plus 3 crude bonus for as long as they can, so I don't think they're going to change the world card right now. The life check on Ganymede is 5%. No life, and another politics marker. And finally, their rover at Chariklo, needing an 8. A 10 and a 14, so that is a failure. No exploration and a malfunction. So just the 1 for the malfunction, and that is the end of our rover out here at Chariklo. All right, we've got a few things that want to produce. The Japanese CV4 at Mars wants to look for supplies, needing an 8. Gets the 8 and a 21. That is a recall. So we'll go ahead and pull biology for the recall. That was a 2. And they do get 2 more supply. It could only hold 1 more, so it took 1 more. It's going to have to go back to Earth, resupply, but then I suspect it will head out to the main belt to build a base somewhere. The North American Andromeda at Ceres is going to do the same thing, looking for supplies, needing a 7. Get a 10 and a 13, not great. That is just 1 supply, and that is a recall, so the biology for the recall is a 2. For trades, the North American CV3 at the Asian base at Hygeia Palace is going to spend $1 billion to collect 2 ore. That's all it can do. We're just neutral with Asia, so we can't buy any more than that. For base expansion, North America is going to build up from their large supply station to go up to small spaceport. That's going to take 3 fuel and 3 ore. I'll make change here momentarily. And with that, that is it for 2082. Moving on now to 2083. Okay, build phase. South America is going to build an LV-1 and 2 supply, launch it up to their base and sell it the next turn. Worst case here is that it's a wash and then they get a new trade card next decade. Best case is they get a free launch vehicle effectively out of it. So that's their goal. They're also spending 1 supply and fuel to resupply their crewed vehicle currently at Mars. Japan is not going to do anything yet again. I'm just waiting on them for a moment. And then North America is going to send 4 more fuel out to their base at Hygeia Palace. Mandatory moves have been completed. Onto movement for North America. They'll launch their 4 fuel out to their main belt base. They do have an existing LV-4 that they will get to keep based on the 80 there. And I'm adding that to the base supply. So they're at 7 fuel, 4 supply, and 3 ore right now. Let's see what other movement they've got. Okay, so I moved the CV3 that bought the ore from the base last time out to the main belt to do more mining. The other 2, the CV2 that was at the main belt and the CV4 at Ceres, both moved to Hygeia Palace. I do need to roll an engine check for the LV2. I think I might have forgotten to do that last time, but it's 1%. It's all right if I did forget. But I will roll it this time here, and it gets a 5, close, but it is okay. The CV2 at Ganymede will stay there, and that is all for North America. Moving on to South America, they're going to launch their 2 supply up to their base at Earth orbit. Well, at 57, they do get to keep their launch vehicle, and they'll be able to sell that 2 supply for $4 billion, and basically got a free launch vehicle out of it. Other movement for them. The CV3 at the main belt is going to move over to Ceres. And then the CV3 here at Mars is going to go back to the Comet. That is all the movement for them. Japan, I think the only thing they have, they're not launching anything. They're going to bring their crew vehicle back to Earth to resupply it. And once they do that, they'll head out to the main belt to build a base. Okay, the orbiter at Venus. Exploring there, needing a 10 for Japan. 20, that is fine, that is no malfunction. And the physics chip they pull is a 1. On to the telescope, pointing at Haumea Makemake again, and it's going to need a 10. So 64, that is a success, so another physics marker is a 1. Let's see, moving outward, I guess the next thing they have is their orbiter at Saturn. It will continue to target Saturn, and again, needing a 10. 62, no malfunction there. The physics they pull is a 5. So another depletion out there at Saturn. There's a spectrometer, so pulling 2 world cards. And we actually have one that's going to apply. Pulled Cratered Surface and Volatile Atmosphere. Volatile Atmosphere does apply, so we will go ahead and do that. It gives a nice bonus to probe exploration, but at this point I don't know that that's going to matter too much. But it's a nice place for fuel in the future. That'll produce 9. The life check at Saturn is 2. 80, nope, and a politics marker. And finally, the rover on Titan is going to need a 12. 7, but it does get the 1. And Titan is biology, and they get a 1. Nothing out in the outer solar system has arrived yet, so we'll just skip on by that. Moving on to South America, their telescope is going to continue to point at Eris. Actually, it's going to point at... hold on here, let me move the camera. It's going to point at Sedna out there. Since it has that mixed ice, it gets +3 for spectrometer exploration. So that's where it's going to target. So that makes Sedna a 9. It goes to 4.5, rounds up to 5, +1. So they need a 6. You get an 8 and a 43. Nothing happens there. The crewed vehicle on the Comet needs an 8. They have a bonus of 2. So they need an 8. They do have a lab. Okay, they do get the 8 and an 81, so no recall. 1 physics for them. And it is a 3. They have just completed their first mission of the game. So we'll go through that. The Comet has been depleted down to 1. There is no world card. Life check of 4%. 5, very close, but no. And then they get a politics marker, both for completing the mission and another one for the depletion. And then we need to draw a new mission for the public mission. And that mission is Callisto. The North American telescope will point at Eris. Eris is at 7 right now, so 3.5 rounds to 4, +2, so they need a 6. Get a 3 and a 63, that is a success. Shuffle up the physics markers here. There aren't too many of them left. They did just get a 1. Moving on to the, let's see here. I guess the next thing they have is their crewed vehicle out at Ganymede. So that's going to need an 8 plus a 3 is 11, plus another 3 is 14. No recall, but just 1 physics marker. So that is going to be just a 1. And I suspect they will probably leave for Callisto next turn, based on that mission being there now. Let's see, looking around for North America, they've got a few things heading out to the outer solar system, but nothing there yet, so that is all for them. Resource collection, nothing for Japan. South America is going to collect supplies on Ceres, needing an 7. Get a 5 and an 11, so they do pull 2 supplies, but that is a recall. And they get a 2 biology for the recall. That's disappointing for them. They were hoping to get a little lucky there and collect the resources before getting recalled so they could build a base, but was not meant to be. The North American CV3 at the main belt will continue to mine for ore, or not continue. They are going to go mine for ore there. They need a 6. You get a 3 and a 57, so they do pull 2 more ore, and I believe they have a cargo capacity of 4, so they are full. Trading with bases, the South Americans are going to sell their 2 supply at their Earth orbit base for $4 billion. That puts them back up to 8. And I will remove this trade marker. I think that's it at the moment. Probably should have put more focus on probably getting that trade from the Chinese base at Phobos and Deimos. But at the moment, that is still out there for somebody to get, and I'm going to wait on the North American one at the main belt. So looking around, I think that is the end of 2083. Build phase. South America is going to send 4 supply and a fuel out to their base at Mars. They're going to meet up with the CV that is going to come back there to resupply, and then going to move out the resources to build a base at the main belt. Over here, Japan's still not doing anything yet. And then North America is buying 4 ore to send off to the main belt, their base there, so that they can build their large spaceport, a settlement, and also probably be able to trade with the base as well. Also, North America readied their 2 crew vehicles at the main belt. So mandatory movement has been completed. Moving on to movement for North America, they're going to launch their 4 ore on their LV-4 to the main belt base. That is a success, and they keep their launch vehicle. Alright, they're going to move the CV-2 that's currently at Hygeia Palace. And I think it's going to move over to Vesta and try to finish that exploration off. So that it does need a engine check. They get it's a 3. Their engine check is a 1, so close, but that's fine. Alright, so the CV-4 Andromeda went over to Ceres. It's going to mine for supplies. The CV-3, I think it's Venture, went back to the base to drop off the ore. The CV-2 went over to Vesta, and the CV-2 Orion at Ganymede is going to move over to Callisto. They get a 20, so that's fine. And that's all the movement for North America. South America is going to launch their 4 supplies and a fuel out to their base at Mars. This will be on their LV-4. That is their engine check's a 3, so they do successfully launch the resources. But they have lost their LV-4 in the process. Other moves for them, their CV-3 at Ceres is going to come back to Mars, and their CV-3 at the Comet, I think it'll just stay at the Comet. It can't mine for resources. Yeah, I think it's just going to do that. No, I take that back. They're going to move their CV-3 over to the base here at Mars. They're going to pick up the 2 ore that they have currently at that base, and then they're going to bring it over to the Chinese base and sell it for some money. The only movement for Japan is to bring their vehicle back here to Earth orbit, and they have space elevators, so they will resupply that next turn. The orbiter of Venus needing a 10 for exploration. Okay, 34, that is a success. And they pull a 3, so that is a depletion out at Venus. Got no spectrometer here, so just pulling 1. And they get C-class asteroid, that will not apply. Life check of 1% on Venus. Nope. And they get a politics marker. Their telescope will target Pluto. They need a 10, so just checking for malfunction. No malfunction. And another physics for them is a 2. The orbiter at Saturn is going to target Mimas, Tethys, Enceladus. That's going to need a... Okay, while I'm calculating that, I see that South America has their orbiter at Saturn, so I'll just roll to get that into orbit. That is fine. So the Japanese orbiter there needs a 3, minus 1 for the distance, so 2, plus 2 for the world card is 4, plus 5 is 9, plus 4 for their bonus, so they need a 13. Just the 1, but no malfunction. This is biology, and they get a 3. It's been depleted down to a 4. I doubt they're going to want to change the world card at all, but that is a spectrometer, so they get 2 choices. Those are icy rocky moons, so hematite could apply, but they're going to keep the water ice there. The life check is 13%. 10. They have found signs of life. So I'll put signs of life here. They do get a victory point for that. They get a politics marker for that. They get a politics marker for the depletion. And then they also get 2 more biology pulls for finding signs of life. And they are both a 2. So 2 2s. And lastly, the rover there on Titan needs a 12. Just the 1. It's another biology. And this time it's a 5. So another depletion. So we'll look for world cards in here. No spectrometer, so just 1. There's a icy, rocky, volcanic moon, and I pull M-class asteroid. So again, no world card there. Life check on Titan is 9%. 39, nope. But they do get the politics marker for the depletion. South America, with their telescope, will continue to target Sedna with the +3 spectrometer on it. That's a 9, so 4.5 to 5, 6 with the telescope added in. Get a 9 and an 88, so nothing there again. Let's see here, looking around, they have their orbiter at Saturn. That orbiter is going to, let's see here, that orbiter is going to target the moons there with the life, or the signs of life on it. So 2 + 2 + 4 is 8, -1 for the distance is 7. So they need a 7 there. A 10 and a 69, so nothing there. And that is all of the exploration for South America. North America is going to target, let's see here, I think they'll target Eris out in the scattered disk. It has a 7 right now. So 3.5 to 4, 5, 6 for the telescope. Get a 7 and a 16, that is a malfunction. And not a successful exploration, and they pull a 2. The Discovery CV2 out on Vesta, needing a the CV2 on Vesta needing a 9, 5 + 1 + 3. It does have a lab, it does get it. Their recall rate is 30. That is a recall, but they do also succeed with the engineering. That's a 3, so they do get the final depletion out there. Go ahead and pull the biology for the recall. It's a 1. So we will need to, I haven't been in this situation before, we will draw world cards until we find one that applies, because this is the final depletion. So Vesta is a rocky asteroid. So first one I pull is volcanoes. That does not apply. Keep on pulling. Next one is escarpments. That does apply. It's for rocky or icy. It's not terribly exciting of a world card, so I don't suspect much will happen there, but we'll go ahead and place it. And a 3% check for life. No. And finally, the politics marker for the depletion. All right, on to Callisto. 5 + 5 plus their bonus of 3. They need a 13. They do get the 3. That is also a recall. So we've got, let's see, Callisto is biology. So we'll pull 2 for the exploration. And it's a 2 and a 1, so barely, but that will count as a depletion, so they will get that mission. They also pull another biology for the recall. That's just a 1. Callisto is an icy, rocky moon. So let's see what we pull. We get hydrogen. That does not apply. Life check out there is 6%. 59, nope. So they do get a politics marker for both the mission and the depletion. And we need to pull a new mission. And the new mission is Pluto. North America happens to have a rover just 2 years out from the Kuiper Belt, so might be able to get that one as well. All right, I'm looking here out at the board. I'm pretty sure that crewed vehicle for South America that's flipped over should be, let me think about this. I think that needs to have moved. I don't think I moved that. So I'm going to move that towards Mars. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know why it would be reserved and just sitting there. So I'm going to move that towards Mars. So for resource gathering, it's just the CV4 for North America at Ceres, looking for supplies, needing a 7. Get a 1 and a 27. So that is a recall. We'll draw for the recall. Just a 1. But they do get 3 supplies because they did roll a 1. So that's pretty good. Okay, up next is trading with bases. The North American base at Hygeia Palace has a... I can sell ore there. So I'll go ahead and do that. They only have 1 settlement, so they can only sell 2 ore. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Yes, they can sell 2 ore, so they'll collect 4 billion for that. It's the only base trading. I do need to remove that token. For base expansion, the asteroid base for North America is going to build a settlement for a fuel, 2 supply, and 2 ore. They do also want to build their large spaceport this turn, and maybe another settlement, and still have enough to resupply. It looks like I've got 3 different vehicles coming in that need to be resupplied. So that is the goal there. And that is all for the year 2084. Moving on to 2085, build phase, South America. They are going to build a fuel and an ore. Going to launch that off to Mars, and then hopefully build a settlement there. Japan is building 1 supply, and let's see, that's going to help. Oh, sorry, they're not building a supply. They've got their CV4 sitting there in Earth orbit, so they had 1 supply sitting in their resource pool over here. They're using that and the 1 billion to resupply the CV4 at Earth. North America is building their telescope, and 4 more fuel being sent off to the main belt. All right, on to movement for North America. They're going to launch their telescope on an LV-1 that they've got, 92. That will go up into Earth orbit, and then they're going to launch that for fuel on the LV-4 that they still have. That is a success. They get to keep both of those launch vehicles. Other movement for them, they do have quite a few crewed vehicles. So both of the CV2s are reserved right now. They both need to come back to the main belt, so we'll roll for the one currently at Callisto. And then I will roll again for the one at Vesta. Those are fine, so they'll move back to the belt, as will the crewed vehicle there on Ceres. The CV3 that's currently at Hygeia Palace, I need to figure out where it's moving to. So that CV3 ended up going to Ceres. It's going to try to mine supply there as well. North America does also have their orbiter and probe that has reached Neptune. So we'll roll for that to go into orbit. Gets a 9. That is good enough. So that is going to move into Neptune orbit. That is all for North America. Moving on to South America, since I've already got the camera pointed out here, they're going to move their rover and probe over to Triton. 17, that's fine. And they move to Triton. They're going to launch their fuel and ore on their LV-1 up to Mars. They get it, but that launch vehicle is destroyed. They don't have any launch vehicles left, and all they have is $1 billion, so not much they're going to be able to do with that at the moment. They do also have this crewed vehicle here, as well as the one coming into Mars. So the CV3 here, oh, it cannot take 4. I was going to put 5 resources on that. This may actually be... Okay, so this one is the one that needs to go out and build a base. The CV4, I was going to have it go build a base out at the main belt, but it can only hold 4 resources, and they need 5 to go build a base out there. They do have -2 to their base construction. So I guess this one at the moment is just going to go to the Comet and try to get that last exploration. This ship is going to come back here to the base and be resupplied next turn. And I think that is all of the movement for South America. And then Japan, their CV4 is going to move out to the asteroid belt. That's a distance of 3, and they're at 0.6, so that is 2 years away. So it'll move out there, and they're going to build a base somewhere. I haven't decided quite yet where, but they'll be moving out that way. That is all the movement for Japan. Exploration. The orbiter continues to explore at Venus, needing a 9. Got the 9, got a 51. That is a success. And their physics is a 2. The telescope will point at, let's see, probably Haumea Makemake. That is out here at the Kuiper Belt. It's a 7. And then so that goes to 4 plus 2 for the telescope plus 4 for their bonus, so that's a 10. So just need the malfunction roll, 19. That is okay. They get a physics chit for that. That is a 3. They have just depleted Haumea Makemake. So that will go down to a 6. Haumea Makemake are icy, rocky dwarf planets. There is no spectrometer, but they pulled helium-3. I guess I'll use this camera here. Helium-3, so that's not going to apply. The life check there is 6%. 29, no life, and their 1 politics marker for the depletion. Moving on, nothing else again in the inner solar system. Moving out to Saturn, they've got their orbiter at Saturn. It is going to target the moons there, Tethys, Enceladus, Mimas, needing a 3 plus 4 plus 2. That's a 9, minus 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. Okay, 5 and a 15. So that is okay, but they only get the 1, and that is biology, which is a 1. And then the rover on Titan continues out there, needing a 11. Just the 1, but no malfunction. And the biology for that is a 1. Looking around, I think that's all for Japan. They do have some stuff on their way to the scattered disk, but that is all right now for Japan. Okay, on to the South American telescope. They are going to target Sedna with its +3 to spectrometer bonus. That's a 9, goes to a 5 after rounding and halving it, and then a +1 for the telescope. So they need a 6 to get that. A 4 and a 20. That is a success, but a malfunction. So physics for the exploration is a 1. And then an engineering for the malfunction. Oh, sorry about that. That is a 2. But that telescope will be removed, and they do not have the cash at this point to send that back up right now this decade. I've got their crewed vehicle at the Comet needing a 7. They do get it. They have a lab. 91, no recall, so just 1, or rather, I'm sorry, 1 physics marker. And that is a 2, so no depletion there. They have their orbiter at Saturn. It is going to target the moons also, Mimas, Tethys, and Enceladus. And it's going to need a 2 plus 2 plus 4 is 8 minus the 1, so it needs a 7. Gets it with a 3, but a 1 is a malfunction, so biology for the exploration, just a 1. And then engineering for the malfunction is a 2. And then that orbiter is gone now as well. I tried to go for a little bit more robot-heavy decade for them, and they've gotten more research, but it's still not been what they've been hoping for. So we'll see. All right, next up for them, they do have their rover and probe out at Triton. They'll go ahead and use the probe there. That needs a 16, no malfunction check, but they did get the 6. So that will be 2 physics markers that they get to pull. Hoping for a depletion out of one of them, but they are not going to get it. They got a 2 and a 1. So no depletion there yet, but they do have the rover to keep exploring, and it will at least be an automatic pull, at least 1 each time for that. And that is it for South America. I'll move on to North America, and while I'm out here, I will just do the probe at Neptune. So it needs a 16. It does get it with a 12. There are only 2 physics chits left, and they are a 2 and a 1. So no depletion for them as well. It looks as though Japan basically has all of the depletion markers. South America's got a few of them, but 2 and a 1 for North America there at Neptune. But they do have their orbiter that will continue. So both North and South America will hope to have a little bit better luck in the future here with those. Moving back on over to the inner solar system, I'll move the camera in just a moment, but the only other thing that North America has right now is their telescope in Earth orbit, and they're going to point at, they do not have a spectrometer, they're going to point at Eris and Dysnomia, which is right now a 7. That goes to a 4 plus the 2, so 6. They do get the 6, no malfunction. We need a physics chit. I don't have any, so let me count those up and put them back in the pool. So the count right now is 20 for North America, 39 for Japan, 13 for South America. Okay, I've put them back in the pool, so now we'll get the physics marker, and it is a 1. So that is it for North America. They do have their rover inbound there to the Kuiper Belt that you can see. They still have their orbiter out here for next turn. They have quite a few vehicles to resupply back at the main belt, but for now, that is everything for research. The American CV3 on Ceres will mine for resources, looking for supplies, and they need a 7. They get a 5 and a 48, no recall, and 2 supplies. On to base construction. North America is going to build a large spaceport and a settlement out at the main belt. That's going to cost them 4 ore and 4 fuel for the spaceport, and 2 ore, 2 supply, and 1 fuel for the settlement. And then South America is going to build a settlement at their Mars base, and that's going to cost 2 ore, 2 supply, and a fuel. So with that large spaceport now out at the main belt for North America, they can build and service any ships they want from there. Their crew range right now is just 2, their CV range, but they are likely going to get, almost certainly get a range of 3 next time, though that doesn't actually mean anything. They'll need CV4 to go out to Saturn if they don't build a base at Jupiter. But yeah, so they're able to make basically Hygeia Palace their main base right now, and build and supply whatever they want to from there. That's it for expanding bases. That is it for 2085. We will move on to 2086 here. Okay, on to the build phase. Nothing for South America. They only have $1 billion left. Japan's going to go ahead and build their other CV4, the Kansai. And they're also going to stock out with 3 supply and 3 ore. That's going to cost them $20 billion to do. They've got 9 left. They haven't really bought much at all this decade. And that's going to go follow that other CV4 out to the main belt and build infrastructure out there. And then North America is going to build 3 ore and a fuel and send it out to their main belt base. Mandatory moves have been done. I also forgot to mention that I just bought I paid to have the 2 crewed vehicles at Hygeia Palace and the 1 at Mars for South America. They have been resupplied. So with that, we'll move on to movement for North America. They're going to launch their 4 resources out to the main belt on their LV4. 51, that is a success, and they do get to keep that rocket. So that is all for that one. The CV2 that is good to go, that's going to head out to Jupiter. 91, that's fine. I will move that in a moment. Well, I'll move it now. The CV4 Andromeda will move over to Ceres. It's going to do some mining as well. And it's actually going to stack in a fleet with the CV3 that's already there. And the CV2 coming into the main belt will go to the base, 35, so that's fine. North America also has this rover out here at the Kuiper Belt. Sorry for the glare, but it's going to go out to Pluto, where that public mission is at. 29, that's fine. It has moved to Pluto. And I think that's all for North America. Yes. So on to South America. They don't have anything to launch. The CV3 at the Comet will stay there. The CV3 at Mars is going to, let me think about this here. Yeah, it's going to head out to the main belt. Its hope right now is to mine for, all it needs is one resource and to not be recalled. It'll carry the 4 resources that are already at the Mars base. And if it can mine one more, it'll build a base out there. Don't know what it's going to do with that base. In fact, it may not even build the base. It may sit out there and wait until the beginning of the next decade. I'm not sure yet. But I think that's the plan. It's going to head out to the main belt one way or another. There's really not much else for it to do right now. The only other exploration it can even take part in right now is the one at the Comet, and it's just not that great of odds. There's no lab on that CV3, and I don't have any fuel to resupply it at this point, should it flip over. There's nothing left at Earth. It can't go to Venus yet. There's nothing at Mercury. There's nothing at the asteroid belt. It's not until you get out to Jupiter where there's any exploration left, and they can't go out to Jupiter. You know, I actually say that. They do have a CV range of, oh, they just have 2. Yep. So there's nothing they can do out there. So I think it's going to head out to Ceres or, the main belt for now and just try to get resources. So having said all of that, I sent it out there without the supplies. I don't think they would build a base this turn anyway. There's no point. They don't have any resources to do anything at the base anyway. Oh, that's actually not true. All right, I'm sorry. I'm thinking out loud here again. They can actually do something. They are going to bring, let's see here. It is going to have carried 4 supply with it. I will go put that on the ship right now. And the reason I did that is they have 1 ore left at the base at Mars. The CV3 that's at the Comet can't mine, but it can carry resources. I think it's going to go back to the base without exploring the Comet. I don't want to risk it flipping over. Actually, it doesn't matter if it flips over. No, it's going to explore. It'll explore this turn. It's going to go to Mars next turn, pick up the ore, head out to the main belt, hope there's a base there at which to use the ore, and if they're lucky, which they haven't been this entire game, but if South America is lucky here, they will be able to at least build either a small research station or a small mining station by the end of the decade. Yeah, okay, so I was just working out the timing. It's going to stay at the Comet this one last turn, and then next turn it'll move to Mars, get the ore, move to the belt. A few things need to go right here for them, but that is their goal. We'll try for that. Movement for Japan. Looking around, their CV4 is still on the way. I don't think they have anything else to move. So we will move on into exploration. Orbiter at Venus, needing a 9. It's a 1 and an 8. That is a malfunction, but it does get the physics, and that physics is a 2. And we will get a... I also see, as I'm putting these resources over here, I see that I forgot to launch the CV4 with all of its resources. So I'll go ahead and do that. It's going to head off to the main belt. It'll be 2 years out. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think that's all been taken care of. That CV4 has been moved out. The orbiter at Venus has been removed. Telescope at Earth is going to target Pluto. Pluto out here is a 7, so that goes to 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so that is automatic. 98, no recall, or no malfunction, I should say. And they pulled a 1. And then moving on over to Saturn, that orbiter will continue to target the moons it has been targeting. So 4 plus a 3 is 7, 8, 9 for the orbiter bonus, but minus 1 for the distance, plus 4 for their research modifier, so they're at 12. 7 and a 44, just 1, that's biology, and they get a 2. And then the rover at Titan needing an 11. There's the 1, that is a 12, that is a malfunction. The biology they pick, though, for the successful exploration is a 2. And the engineering for the malfunction is a 1. That is all for Japan. Moving on to South America, they do have their crewed vehicle at the Comet. It's going to attempt to research there. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus their bonus of 2, they need a 7. They did get that. But a 1 is a recall, so this is going to be their final exploration. But we kind of knew that anyway. It's going to head off to the base regardless. But the physics they pull is a 1. And then a biology for the recall is another 1. All right. Then flip that over. Their other crewed vehicle is inbound to the main belt right now. They do have their rover out of Triton. That will need a 12. So they got 1. No malfunction. So that is physics. Let's see here. They get a 2. No depletion, but again, it has not malfunctioned, so they'll get a try again. That's all for South America. Moving on to North America, we'll do what they have out here again. So the orbiter at Neptune needs a 9. They get the 4 and an 89, so that's fine. They will draw a physics check for that. And they do get a 3, so they do get their mission, and they've completed that mission there. So we'll go through those steps. First, we need to reduce that down to a 6. So they did complete that mission. They were already at 6 missions completed, which is their current limit. We're in the 6th decade. So Neptune, the one that they just got, let me find that here, is a point value of 4. They are going to keep that. They're going to get rid of Phobos, which they have, which is only worth 2. So we're going to discard that one. They do get a victory point because they had to get rid of 1. And then they also get a politics marker for completing a mission. Next, we need to draw a world card. We do have a spectrometer, so we'll pull 2. And 2 we pull. Okay, one of these will apply. We get silicate rocks and hydrogen, so we'll go ahead and put the hydrogen out there. That's pretty good. Life check there is 2%. 42, no life. And then they get the politics marker for the depletion. All right, they also need to draw a new mission. All right, so they ended up pulling Jupiter. I'm looking at my bag of missions here. I'll be honest, there's not really that many left. So both them and Japan have been doing quite well. I feel like Japan's definitely got the tech lead, but North America has certainly been keeping up, at least in missions. But South America just has their 1. They are hoping to get Triton there at some point, but so far they have not had much success there. All right, we'll move on from the orbiter. We will move over to the rover at Pluto, needing a 12. Gets a 5 and a 75, so that'll just be 1 pull, no malfunction. And they get a 1. So no depletion there, but I'm sure they will be happy to keep trying to get that other mission as we go through the decade. All right, so we'll move on to resource collection. The CV3 at Ceres, looking for supplies, needing a 7. Does get the 7 and a 65, so that is 2 more supplies. The CV4 there, yeah, will also look for supplies. Got a 1 and an 83, so they get 3 supply for that. And so actually, right now, the combined capacity of that fleet, or they've got 7 total supply, which is the capacity of that CV4. I'm going to transfer all of the supply out to the CV4, and the next turn it's going to go back to the base, whereas the CV3 is going to go mine somewhere else, I think. Resource transfer happens at like the start of any step or phase, but just for simplicity's sake here, I'm going to do it now. They're not going to do anything else before the start of a next step or phase. That was all of the resource collection. Looking around, nobody's building anything at any base right now. So that'll be the end of 2086. Moving on to 2087. All right, the only thing being built this year, North America is buying 2 ore, 2 fuel, sending that off to the main belt. Mandatory movement has been completed. Gonna ship the 2 ore and 2 fuel out to their Hygeia Palace base for North America. 79, they get to keep their launch vehicle, and that has been sent out to the base. Other movement, that CV4 series is going to move over to Hygeia Palace, and the CV2 at Jupiter is going to go over to, I think they're going to go to Europa. I think they would like to get a little bit more biology. They do have active radiation shielding, so that'll be okay. So that is their goal. I will roll for that one. They're fine. The reserved crew vehicle at Hygeia Palace, I didn't have any supply left at that base, so it'll flip over next time when the supply from the CV4 gets there. That's all the movement for North America. South America, their Comet CV here is just going back to the base. And then the CV3 at the main belt needs to go over to Ceres. These little asteroid markers or world locations out here are getting quite crowded. All right, moving on to Japan. The CV4 that's currently at the main belt is going to go build a base. I still haven't really been able to figure out where I want that. I can't determine if they want ore or supply out here. So that determines if they go to Ceres or if they go to Hygeia Palace. Yeah, that's kind of the dilemma right now. I think it's going to go to Hygeia Palace. I think they'd rather have the ore. Ore is more useful than the supply when it comes to building like base upgrades, basically. They're both useful, but the supply is useful for obviously fixing up or resupplying ships. But I think they would rather go mine that at Ceres and bring it over, or just ship it back from home. Excuse me, ship it back from home. The supplies on Ceres are a 7. The metal, the ore on Hygeia Palace is an 8. So there is already that North American base there, so they'll kind of alternate between being a 7 and an 8. But I think they'd rather have the ore. They also are planning on building things from there, like orbiters or flybys, rovers, etc., and crew vehicles, and those typically take more ore as well. So I think that's the goal. I think they're going to go to Hygeia Palace, because there wasn't enough stuff on Hygeia Palace already. So that's where they're going. That's it for the... No, that's not it for the movement. We've got something over here at the scattered disk. Japan has a... what is that? Orbiter with a probe. They're going to move out to Eris and Dysnomia. So here we go. 69, so they succeeded on their engine check. And I know that it is off camera, but I assure you I am struggling to put the orbiter at Eris out there. Okay, that is it for movement. On to exploration. I'm going to go ahead and do Eris while I'm kind of thinking about it. I'll point this camera again at it just to show you what we've got going. Right now I'm just going to use the probe. It's a 9 plus a 7 for the world, plus 4 for their bonus. So that is an automatic 20. So they automatically pull 2, and there is no malfunction with a probe. So they're just getting 2 physics chits. So those chits are big one, 5 and a 1. So they have depleted it, and they have completed their mission out there. Eris is an icy dwarf planet and moon. That was a probe, so we only got 1 world card to pull. They did get water ice. Which is for icy, it gives bonus to orbiters. Yeah, I think that's going to be better all around. Right now it's frozen methane, so they're going to pick water ice. They're going to put that out there. They're getting rid of the frozen methane. Frozen methane is here. The other reason they're doing that is because it's a plus 4% to the search for life. There is already signs of life, or there are already signs of life out there. So it's a pretty big bonus for them should they find life. So right now it's a 9% chance for life. They get a 61. So no life yet, but there are 7 more depletions left out there for them to try. And then they get 2 politics markers, 1 for completing the mission, 1 for the depletion. And they need to pull a new mission. And this also does now put Japan at 6 missions, just like North America's at. So they're both at their limit right now for the decade. Let's see here. I'm pulling through the mission ones, but some of the, again, I haven't separated out the decades that can't happen yet. So I'm just going to draw until I get a valid one. Not sure if there are any valid ones left in here. Let me take a look. All right, there were a few left in there, and so the one they ended up pulling was Europa. So that will be the next thing that they try for. And I'll go ahead and put the marker out there just to make sure we remember where that's at. And that is it for that orbiter out there at Eris and Dysnomia. Moving back to the inner solar system, the telescope is going to point at Sedna. Sedna has the +3 to the spectrometer for the mixed ice right now, so that's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They need an 11 for that exploration. 14, that is not a failure. Their rate is 13, but the 3 does mean they get 1 physics marker, and that is a 1. Alright, they had lost their orbiter at Venus. They are not exploring in the main belt, nothing to do there. So we'll just do the orbiter at Saturn. It'll target the same moons it has been targeting, so that's going to be 12 that they need out there. Just 1, that's biology, and they get a 2. That is it for Japan. Only thing South America has left operating right now is their rover out at Triton, needing a 12. They do get the 2, they get a 23, so that is a malfunction. Their rate is 24, so they get 2 physics chits, 2 chances here to get their mission completed, and then if not, who knows when they will be able to do it. But, 2 1s, that's not going to be enough to do it. They will pull an engineering chit for the malfunction, and you guessed it, it's another 1. So right now, I know I keep saying it, and in real life here, days kind of go by. So I know you're watching this, it's like 20, 30 minutes later, and you just heard me say it, but I'm looking again at what South America has here for their technology, and that's what I'm looking at, and it's really, it's tough. It's tough. Like, they're not getting any depletions. They're getting a decent number of tech chits. Remember that they have already cleared out their physics ones. They had a few of those. Like, if you're not going to pull 3s and 5s, there's not much you can do for depletions, missions, exploration. So that rover is gone. I'm not sure when they're going to get around to trying for that mission again, hopefully next decade, but that's all for now for them. We will work on the North American items out here. We've got the orbiter at Neptune, and I think it's just going to target, actually it's going to target Galatia, Larissa, Proteus. It's got that +2 to the orbiter bonus there, so that's 9, but -1 for the distance, so that is an 8. They get a 4 and a 5, so 2 engineering, 1 for the depletion, or not depletion, 1 for the, well, it is a depletion. They got a 3 for the exploration, and then we'll pull another one for the malfunction, which is a 2. So that orbiter is gone, but they do get a depletion. It does have a spectrometer on it, so we will pull 2 world cards for that world. Those moons are rocky moons. So, looking for something that's rocky. They are minimal gravity. So both of these here will actually work. We've got, sorry, I don't know if you can see that, but silicate rocks and C-class asteroids. I don't think either of those are better than what we've currently got on there with hematite, so we're going to put them back. We've got a search for life of 3%. 85, no life, but they do get the politics marker for the depletion. Moving on to Pluto out here, needing a 12. Get a 7 and a 25. Their malfunction rate to 24, so they are okay there. They do get 1 physics for the exploration. that is a 5. They're doing pretty well here. That's a depletion. That's a mission. So we will go ahead and flip this over to a 6. Let's see. So they have completed that mission. They had another 2-point mission in their stack when I was looking before. They're going to get rid of Mars. They're going to ditch their Mars mission here. They're going to take a victory point, and they're going to take the Pluto mission and put it on their stack. We will need to draw another mission, another public mission. They get 2 politics markers, one for the mission, one for the depletion. Need to draw a world card there. Pluto being an icy dwarf planet. So C-class asteroid is not going to apply there. And we do have a life check of 5%. No life. The next public mission drawn is Venus. That does have 2 exploration left on it, so that is a possibility. And if I recall correctly, there's only one other mission left, at least at this decade, in that bag. I don't remember what it is, but I think there's one more. All right, that is it out here at the outer planets. I should have done this before I moved away from the outer planets, but the telescope there for North America is going to point at Eris and Dysnomia, which is currently at a 7, so we need a 6 here. We get a 9 and a 34, so nothing happens there. Let's see here. The only other exploration I see is the CV2 at Europa, and it's going to need a 10, so 10 plus their bonus of 3, so they need a 13, and they get 2 dice for that. 24, their recall rate's a 30, so they only get 1 for the exploration, and then 1 for the recall. So 1 for the exploration, and 2 for the recall. So not their most successful outing out there. They will need to flip over the crewed vehicle. And let's see, that is all of the exploration for North America. All right, resource gathering, South America, their CV2 at Ceres looking for supplies. There we go. 49, that is not a recall. They do get a 7, which is what they need to get 2. I think they can only fit 1 though, which is all they needed, so they are going to take the 1 and put that on their ship. They are very pleased with that result. A little bit of bright spot here in this decade that otherwise has been not the greatest for them. The CV3 for North America is going to do the same thing. Get a 10 and a 39, so no recall, but just 1 supply for them. And I believe that is all of the resource mining. The next thing we go on to here is trading with bases, not having any of that. Building and expanding bases. I think we're going to have a few of these. Let's see, I think we go in initiative order here, though I don't think it matters too much, but Japan is going to build a base at Hygeia Palace. They need a 7 to build a base there. They brought 6 with them, but that's okay. They have -1 to their base construction cost per tech, so I will get that base out there. Moving on to South America, they're going to build a base where they're at. They're on Ceres with the, let's see, they have -2 to their base construction costs, and they've got 5 with them, so that will be enough. And then over here at the North American base at Hygeia Palace, they're going to spend, I talked about this a while ago, a few episodes ago, I think it was, reading the rules for how many things you can upgrade. I'm not completely sure I'm doing this right, so let me know if I'm doing it wrong. I know you can't upgrade 2 levels of the same building in the same turn, but I think you can do 2 different buildings, but let me know if I'm doing that wrong. So they're going to upgrade their small mining station to a large mining station for 2 ore and 2 supply, and then they're going to build another settlement for 2 supply, 2 ore, and a fuel. So starting to upgrade that base nicely there. That's all of the base expansion, and that is the end of 2087. All right, so we're moving on now to 2088. Got the build phase. Japan is going to be buying 2 ore, 2 fuel, and North America 3 ore, 1 supply, and both of them are sending it out to their new, it's not so new for North America, but both to the Hygeia Palace bases. The plan by the end of the decade for all three nations is to expand their bases a little bit more. So South America wants to build a mining station out at Ceres. It'll be able to do that with the resources it has inbound. Japan wants to build all of these things, so small mining station, starting up their supply station, as well as getting a settlement out there. And then North America wants to build a refinery to really increase their production at that base. That's the plan. Those resources will be bought. I don't think any bases have ships that need to resupply, but I will take a look at that. And if they do, I will let you know. Otherwise, we'll move on to mandatory movement. Just kidding. North America had that CV2 there at the base at Hygeia Palace. They did just spend one fuel, one supply to restock that. So with that, moving onward now, we've got movement. The mandatory movement has been completed. So North America, they're going to move that CV2 back out to the Jovian system, and the one that is out there is going to come on back. So we'll go ahead and roll for those. Here's the one that's at Hygeia Palace. That's fine with a 39. And the other one gets a 57. So I'll move those and figure out where the other two are gone. Alright, so I've moved them all. The CV2s went where I said. The others here, the CV3 and the CV4 are meeting up into the same fleet there on Ceres. I apologize. It looks like there might be a little bit of glare there. I'll see if I can fix it a little bit. But they're going to be here on... Didn't do a whole lot. Sorry about that. But they'll be there. They're in a fleet right now, stacked, and they're going to do some resource gathering. So that is all of the movement except for their the resources they want to launch. They've got an LV4 that they're launching, a 66, so they do get to keep that. And those move on out to their base at Hygeia Palace. All right, moving on to Japan. Japan has their new CV4 sitting there at the flyby box of the main belt. It's going to go over to their new base and drop off all those supplies. The other CV4 is going to head over to probably Ceres and do some mining there. Let me take a look. Alright, yeah, so the Kansai has arrived at the base, that's CV4 there, and then the other CV4, the Hikawa, went over to Ceres, and it's going to join in the fun over there and start mining for supplies as well. They now have the resources on Earth that they're going to be launching out. Again, that's 2 ore and 2 fuel. They do have an LV4. They do get shipped out, but they do not get to keep that launch vehicle. So they'll have to rebuy that. But those resources did make it out there, and they're going to be able to build all of those facilities. Again, I'm playing with they'll be able to build that at the end of the turn. So that is the plan for them. Looking around, I don't think they have any more movement. Nope. And then on to South America. They have their CV3 on Ceres. It needs to move over to the... Let's see here. I think it needs to move over to the main belt. What they need are supplies. Because looking right now... Let me check something. 1 second. Okay, yeah, I had made this plan. So at the beginning of the year, it's actually a new day here. I had made the plan for what they're going to do on a previous day. So I'm reloading it here into my brain. So they are taking 1 ore. The base at Mars has 1 ore. This ship here is going to take it, and they're going to move over to the main belt. This one is going to move over here to the main belt, and it needs to collect a supply. All they need is 1 supply. The 1 ore is coming in, and they'll be able to build their mining station by the end of the decade. So that is all the movement for them. We'll go on to exploration. They do not have any. I'm saying they. I actually just realized I went in the wrong order for movement. I apologize. Initiative order is Japan, South America, North America, and I flipped that around. So sorry about that. So we'll move on to exploration for Japan now. Their telescope is going to point at Pluto out here with the North American rover on it. It is a 6. That gets halved to 3, so they will need a 9 for this exploration. Got a 4 and a 15. Their malfunction rate is 13, so that's fine. They do get a physics marker for that, and it is a 2. Next up, for Japan, they have their orbiter at Saturn, and it's going to target Mimas Tethys Enceladus, needing a 4 plus 2 plus 3, that's 9, minus 1 is 8, plus 2 for their bonus, they need a 12. They do get the 2 and a 39, so that is 2 biology markers. There's not too many of them left here, trying to shuffle them up real well. They pulled a 1 and a 2. That's what they got. So no depletion there. And they've got their orbiter out of Eris, needing a 15, 80, and a 7, so just 1. That is physics. And they get a 3, so that is a depletion. And we will go through that. It's been depleted down to a 6. That is a spectrometer. I can't imagine they will pick anything different than what's already there. And I think that will be true, as they have just pulled Impact Basin and Ridge Terrain. They're going to keep the water ice there. So they need to do a search for life with that water ice that is 9%. 67, no, and 1 politics marker. That is all for Japan. North America, while I'm out here, I will do the rover at Pluto. It needs an 11. It does get the 1, but it also gets a 14, so that is a malfunction, but they do get 2 physics pulls. So those 2 are 2 1s. Get them here in my hand. All right, 2 1s for that. And then they do get the engineering for the malfunction, and that is a 2. So that is the end of the rover out here on Pluto. It did what it needed to do, but it is no more. The telescope that North America has will point at Eris and Dysnomia. So the 6 gets halved with 3. The telescope has 2 on it, so it needs a 5. It does get the 5, no malfunction, so they will pull a physics chit, and that chit is a 2. And that is all of the exploration. We do have some production from each faction. So Japan is going to try to make supplies with their CV4 at Ceres. Needing a 7. Did get the 7 and a 53, so that is 2 supplies and no recall for the Japanese ship here. And that is all for Japan. Next up is South America. Their CV3 at the main belt is looking for supplies. Ceres is the better place to get supplies, but they can't mine on Ceres because they already have a base. But they only need 1 to do what they need to do anyway, so it's not a big deal. But they do need a 3. They get a 1 and a 30. That is a recall, so we will take a look here through the biology chits, of which there are only 2 left. And they pull a 5. But they do also get 3 supply because they rolled a 1, so not too bad. The North American CV3 looking for supplies as well. They get an 8 and a 3, so they do get the last biology chit in the bowl, which is a 1. And they only get 1 supply for that. I will flip them over and give them that supply in just a moment. I'll go ahead and roll for the CV4 that's there as well. Got a 7 and a 57, so 2 more for them. And I will just do what I did before. I'll load up that CV3 with all of these supplies, and it'll get sent back to the base, and the CV4 will stay out there next turn. All right, nobody's trading with any bases, but we do have some bases to expand here. The South American base, that's going to have to be next turn. They don't have the resources there quite yet. So we'll take a look over here at the base that Japan has. So they want to build the small supply station, they want to build the small mining station, and they want to build a settlement. That's going to take 4 ore, 3 supply, and 2 fuel, which is everything they have here except for 1 ore. They do get to keep one ore, but then they are going to add all of these to their base. So that has been expanded greatly. And then moving on to North America, they have, let's see if I can get that on the camera there. All right. They would like to upgrade to a small refinery, and they need 3 ore and 3 supply to do that. So that will get rid of the mining station and replace it with the refinery. And that is all for 2088. All right, last year of the decade, 2089. Looking around at the build phase right now. All right, the only faction buying anything is North America. The last $4 billion they've got, they're spending it on 4 fuel, and they'll send it out to the Hygeia Palace base. Japan does have $5 billion. They could send out another robotic ship right now. I think they're going to wait because we're at the end of the decade. This will help them make a little bit more money. They'll be under their supply or their limits for ships by quite a bit for robotic explorers right now. They're going to keep that $5 billion. They'll carry on to the next decade, and they can use it then. And then South America is not buying anything either. Mandatory movement has been completed. Movement now for North America. They're going to ship their 4 fuel out to Hygeia Palace. That is a success, but they've lost their LV4, so get rid of that. Other movement for them, their CV2 has arrived at Jupiter, and it's going to head out to, Europa. No problem with the engine check, and so we'll just move them out to Europa here. The CV2 coming into the main belt is going to go to the base, as is the CV3 that is reserved. So here's the roll for the CV2, no problem. Both of them will go to the base. South America is bringing both of their crew vehicles over to their base on Ceres. They'll be dropping off the supply and the ore so that they can build their mining station at the end of the turn. And Japan is going to move their CV4 that's at the base. It's going to go over to Ceres and mine for resources. All right, the telescope for Japan is going to point at the Kuiper Belt. It's got a value of 7 at the moment, so 3.5 to 4. That is a 10 after bonuses. So just the malfunction roll, of which there is none. And physics for them is a 1. All right, on to the orbiter at Saturn. It's going to target Dione Rhea, so it needs a 12. It does get 2 of them. 27 is fine for them, and so that is 2 engineering. And those 2 are a 1 and a 1. They have their orbiter out here at Eris and Dysnomia, needing a 14? Yeah, 14. 19 is fine. The 10 means they just get the 1 physics marker, but that 1 is a 5, so they have gotten another depletion out there. Looking for 2 world cards here, and we've got C-class asteroid. Get these on camera. C-class asteroid and impact basins. Again, they are just going to ignore both of those. They need a 9% for life, 28 no life, and a politics marker. All right, that's it for Japan. South America does not have anything to explore with. The North American telescope will also point at Eris and Dysnomia, needing a 5. It's an 8 and an 85. Nothing happens there. The CV2 over at Europa, that's going to need a 13. They do get a 35, which is not a recall. They do get the 1, so they do get to pull 2 biology markers, of which there are currently none in the bowl. So I'll count those up and re-add them to the bowl. Right now, North America is at 18, Japan 44, and South America 10. All right, they've been collected, so they do get 2 biology markers for that. And they get a 3 and a 1, so that will be a depletion out there at Europa. Alright, drawing a world card. Europa is an icy rocky moon. So they get, if I can find any card here, volatile atmosphere. That's not going to apply, so they will keep mixed ice out there. Search for life, which is right now a 14%. 27, no life, and a politics marker. And that is all for exploration. Next on to resource production for Japan. They've got both their CV4s there, and I think the first CV4 is going to look for supplies, so they need a 7. Got a 10 and an 18, that is a recall, and only 1 supply, so they get a 3 for the recall. And they do get 1 supply. I will go add that in just a moment. The CV4, the other one there, is going to look for fuel. They need a 4. Another 10 and a 17. Is that not the same thing I just rolled? Okay, I don't know. That seems awfully similar, but that is just 1 fuel and another recall. So go ahead and pull the chit for that. It's just a 1. So I'm going to go flip both of those over. Both are recalled. They are probably going to head back to Earth. Maybe. We'll see what they do next decade. They may have to head back to Earth to get resupplied. But that is all for them. The North American CV4 will be looking for supplies. They got an 8 and an 82, so no recall, but just 1 supply. That is all for resource production. Base expansion, let's see, South America is going to build their small, again, sorry about the glare, small mining station. That'll cost 1 ore, 1 supply, so they'll add that, and they'll be able to start making supplies there next turn. And then over here for North America, they are going to build, there's not a great spot anymore to put the tripod over here, but they are going to build 1 more settlement. I need to find the 5 settlement there. That'll take 2 ore, 2 supply, and a fuel, which I will change here for. So they're going to go up to 5 supply, or 5 settlements rather, and that will help them in the automatic, like the, I can't remember the name of the phase. What's the name of the phase? Settlement growth phase. So that is what they will do there. Just replace this 4 with the 5. The going up to a 5 doesn't help the resource production at all. It does help for the trade modifier, but yep, so they have upgraded to a 5 there. And then just kind of looking around to see where everybody has settlements out there right now. South America has 1 in Earth orbit and 1 on Mars. Japan has 1 at the Hygeia Palace base. And then North America's got 3 right now at Mars and 5 at Hygeia Palace. And that is the end of 2089. Moving on to 2090, we're just going to do the economics phase here at the end of this video. Before I get to that, I just want to kind of talk about my thoughts about where the game is going so far. So to me, it feels as though, and I may be wrong on this, but it feels as though I have been playing Japan well, and they've been getting very lucky. I've been playing North America so-so, and they've been getting average luck. And I've been playing South America poorly, and they've been getting poor luck. It feels as though, I don't know why it feels that way. I don't know why those are all lined up like that. Like the factions I think I'm playing better are also the ones getting lucky. Like had South America been getting luckier with their tech pulls and Japan not as lucky, would this game be a little closer? I'm not sure. But right now it kind of feels like it's a game between North America and Japan. We'll see. South America did build their mining station out there, so they're going to start collecting resources. Money has kind of been their issue this game. They've just run out so quickly supplying their ships. So anyway, that's just kind of what I'm thinking right now. We're about halfway through the game at this point, so I think we'll start looking towards victory conditions here moving forward. I think we're going to get to terraforming sooner than later. I would not be surprised if Japan picked something up with terraforming. I don't know for sure, but they might pick up terraforming this coming turn. So We'll see. So with that, we'll move on into the economics phase. The first thing we do that is to collect politics markers. Each faction will collect 2. North and South America do have an alliance with each other, so they'll each collect a bonus one. And South America does have 2 extra ones for their policies. So we'll go ahead and collect all of that. So with that, South America is at 8, and Japan and North America actually kept up with Japan this decade. They are both at 17. Next, we will roll for an event. This is the last decade in which we only roll for 1. Moving forward, we roll for 2. Did get 32. 32 is natural disaster. We're going to roll percentiles to find a world that is impacted. Any bases there will get a damage marker to all non-settlement facilities, and half their resources will be destroyed. So we'll see where that happens. There's a 38. That seems awfully close to the main belt. Let's take a look. 38 is going to be at Vesta. So every faction just dodged that one. Awfully close to the other asteroids there. But 38 is out at Vesta, so nothing will happen for that. Next up is initiative. Both Japan and North America are at plus 20% based on their policy tree. I don't think anybody's going to spend politics markers on this still at this point. So we'll just roll off here in initiative order. So Japan gets an 80 with their bonus. South America gets a 24. And North America gets a 120. Wow. So that means that basically North America is going to go from last to first, and then the order after that is Japan and then South America, which I think was the order at the beginning of the game. So that is initiative. Moving on now to production. Nope. Moving on to diplomacy. We need to see if any faction has, if they go back to neutral or not. 2 is Russia. So any relations with Russia here, which there are none with these 3 factions, will go back down to neutral. All right, so yeah, in reverse initiative order, going through diplomacy here. So South America is going to try, they're going to use 1 politics marker to try to increase their relations with Asia. 1, they do increase relations with Asia. Japan is going to spend 3. 1 to try to increase with China, and 1 with Asia. So here's China, 3, that does get increased. And Asia, 2, so both of them are increased. And North America did move into the policy to try to embargo Japan last decade, or I guess, the last decade. I don't think they're quite ready to try to go down that route quite yet. I think they're going to try to spend 3 politics markers on China and Asia as well. So here's one for China. There's a 1, so that is an increase, and then Asia is a 6, so those are both increased as well. So here's where foreign relations currently stand. South America is at alliance with North America and free trade with Asia. Japan is at alliance with China and free trade with Asia. And then North America is at alliance with South America, collaboration with China, and free trade with Europe and Asia. Okay, now is production. I will go through and add up all the cash and report back. And one thing to note is we are now in 2090, so we are in the 3rd row of the Earth production. So cash earned for each of them: North America 47, Japan 44, and South America 41. Okay, and then we also produce resources at bases, of which we now have quite a few, so I'll go through that. Also, I just realized I miscounted the number of bases that North America has compared to their policy tree. So they do actually have $51 instead of 47. I was calculating that they were 1 over their limit, but they are not. So they are at 51. Okay, so resources for bases. North America is first in initiative. So their Mars base has a large mining station and 3 settlements, and they'll be getting supplies there. So supplies on Mars right now, that is an 8. Plus 1 for the large mining station goes up to 9, and then plus 1 more for their number of settlements, and that is going to be 10 supply. So I'll add that to their base there. And then over at Hygeia Palace, the bonus there is +2, so they're getting 8 ore at Hygeia Palace. They have a small refinery, which adds 3 to that, moves it up to 11, and they have 5 settlements, which is another one. So they will get 12 ore. All right, yep, so they will get 12 ore there. Moving on to Japan, they also have a mining station at Hygeia Palace. It's just a small mining station. So we go 8. They have they do have 1 settlement, but no bonuses for that. And the mining station does not give them any bonuses. So they're just at 8, but then -1 because North America already got ore there, so it's -1 for that. So they will get 7. So we will add that to the base. And then for South America, they have their mining station on Ceres. Ceres has +1 bonus to supply, and they have subterranean water, which adds 6 to that, so they get 7. There's no settlements, no other bonuses here, so they will just get 7 supply here. So now they've got a total of 9. So they'll either need to build a supply station out there and send some fuel, or more likely they'll probably ship that back to Mars and send their CVs back there at least early on next decade so that they can resupply there. Likewise for tech, South America's got research stations at Earth, where they're going to get biology, 3 biology. They're going to get 6 engineering here at near-Earth asteroids and 8 biology at Mars. Okay, for resource transportation, everybody's got the ability to move 5 resources around, so I'll figure out what they want to do with that. North America is going to send 5 supplies, sorry for the shaky camera here, from Mars and send them off to Hygeia Palace. Japan's not doing anything, they only have 1 base. And then South America, I think they're going to move some supplies to Mars. Let me think about that. I think they're just going to send 2 supplies back from their base on Ceres. They're going to send over to Mars. They're going to try to get a supply station out at the Ceres base sooner than later. All right, moving on to adding bases, asteroids, pirates, and trade markers. So here's the roll for the base. 2. 2% is out here at Mercury. Mercury needs 2100, so 1 more decade before we can add anything there, so no new bases. Next up is the asteroid roll. That is at 61. 61 is out at the Trojans and the Greeks, which is part of the Jupiter system, but Jupiter also has 2100, so no asteroid this time. Pirate, 80, so that's going to be even further out. We're going to continue to not have any pirates. That is at Uranus, which is 2120, so nothing there. And then we will go ahead and add all of our trade markers. All right, so first up, just going to work outward from Earth. So the South American base in Earth orbit, I'm just going to draw one and then kind of flip it into the box here. It's a buy. So I'll put a buy marker. They're going to be able to buy ore there. Moving on out to Mars, both the North and South American bases have one. Go with the North American one there. And they get a, okay, it bounced out, but it is a sell fuel token, so they can sell fuel there. I don't know that they'll be doing too much of that. They don't have any, well, they can maybe send some out from Earth, but they don't have a whole lot of fuel around. The South American base gets a buy fuel. Well, that's interesting. So maybe there's something to be done there. Those two are allies, so they could feasibly trade there and get quite a few resources for it. The Chinese base on Phobos already has a trade marker, so we will not add one there. The South American base at Ceres does not have any settlements, so we won't add one there. The Japanese base at Hygeia Palace does, so it is a sell supply. And then the North American base over there is going to get, okay, and it bounced out as well, but it is a sell or. That might be something they certainly consider doing. I'll go put that over there momentarily. And then lastly, the Asian base there at Hygeia Palace is a sell supplies. So I think North America will certainly be interested in doing at least the selling of ore at their own base. They've got quite a bit of it there and could net them quite a bit of money. That is all of the trade markers. Okay, moving on to developing technologies. As always, I'll go up and I'll go through and add up all of the research chits that everybody's gotten. I'll report back with how many tech points each faction is working with, and we will go on to develop technologies. All right, after adding them up, well, I was hoping you could see, but I'm not getting it in the camera. You can see how many points of each faction has there. And the number at the very top are the number of politics markers that they each have to spend. So I'll go through the tech tree and let you know what they get. All right, so for technologies, you can see what we've got here. We're starting to move out into CV range 4, so I'd expect to see maybe some crew vehicles out at the Saturn system this coming decade. South America worked to improve their recall rate by quite a bit there. Moving on down here, North America and Japan now have pressure shells, and Japan went all the way out to 0.4 with the heliocentric transfer modifier. And then down here, North and South America caught up a little bit on malfunction rate and robotic exploration, but not a whole lot else out here to report. Engineering was probably the least that everybody had gotten this last decade. All right, rolling for settlement growth. For the South American Earth base, they do get a 1, so that will increase to a 2. Their base at Mars, get a 10, so nothing there. Japan, their base at Hygeia Palace, got a 10, nothing there. North Americans at Mars get a 6, and at Hygeia Palace get a 1, so their settlement here will go up. I need to find a marker for that, but that'll go up to 6. And then finally for policies, North America went up 1 more on the military policy, mostly for the initiative at this point. And South America and Japan went up in the money, the space economics policy track there to make a little bit more money. With that is the end of episode 6. That's the end of the 2090 economics phase. I'll move on to the rest of 2090 in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Looking forward to the next one.